Good evening. This is Stone Gasman, live from New York City. How is everybody doing tonight? I hope I'm coming in loud and clear here. Oh man, I've just had an amazing week. I mean, it started out pretty much at the nadir of my life, but at the same time, I mean, I've been going through depression spells and all sorts of crap much of the week. But I managed to get some time off of work, and I decided to just chill, relax, really put everything in perspective for a few days as I figured things out. But before I want to welcome everybody here tonight. Bib is already in the chat. Anybody else in the chat, please feel free to say hi. At any rate, I'm glad to be here tonight. We're going to be doing audio commentaries for Cult of Chucky, the seventh film in the Child's Play franchise. And then finally, a little later, we're going to be doing the eighth film in the franchise, which happens to be the 2019 Child's Play reboot, courtesy of director Lars Klevberg and the good folks over at NGM and United Artists Releasing. Now, these are obviously the two newest entries in the franchise, not counting of course, the television series, which I did see the first two episodes. I haven't seen the third episode yet, but I will say because of the fact I like to do a fifth one as well. I'm going to go ahead and announce right now. Next Saturday night at 10 p.m. audio commentaries for the first 4 episodes of the Chucky television series. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to go all in. I have to go all in on the franchise here. Now, granted, I kind of wish that season 1 was available in its entirety. But at the same time, doing a commentary for that would, of course, take about half a day, obviously. So we're next Saturday night at 10 p.m. I will be here, 10 p.m. Eastern, for commentary for the first 4 episodes of Chucky. I am very much looking forward to doing those. Here again, I've only seen 2 episodes. I like what I see so far. Very little complaints. Very minor complaints that I'm not going to go into at the moment. But look, I'm digging Chucky. Okay, especially episode 3. I realized that apparently he decided to open up the episode with previously on fucking Chucky. This is quality modern day television that we're experiencing here, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, the Chucky television series for the first 4 episodes, commentaries on those next Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, just to double check, that is indeed November 6th. Yeah. So at any rate, I'll give everybody just about maybe 2 more minutes here to get prepared for Cult of Chucky at the Universal logo. Okay, now I'm going to have a bit to say about Cult of Chucky. The remake, not so much. I got to be perfectly honest. I rewatched the remake again today for the second time to prepare for this thing. I'm not going to have a lot to say about it. It's not even that I think it's a bad film. Don't get me wrong. I am going to have things to say, but at the same time, I mean, I guess the fact that I ended the movie with a very, very heavy sigh pretty much means that it's going to go to the bottom of my Child's Play ranking. I still haven't decided. I still haven't decided between that and Child's Play 3. To be perfectly honest, I'm tempted to stay with 3 over the remake, but it's a tough battle. It's a tough battle at the moment. So, but tell you what, I'll probably do a Child's Play ranking next week after I finish the first 4 episodes of the television series. Because, like I said, I mean, there's a couple of battles in the nether area, in the middle area. There's a lot of battles going on, and it's going to be interesting. And here again at the bottom, it's going to be a battle between Child's Play 3 and Child's Play the 2019 remake, which here again, I'm going to have some things to say about it, but also because I mean, forgive me. I mean, I'm a little tired. I've been up many hours, and after I finish these commentaries, I will be going to sleep. I'll be sure not to fall asleep during the commentary. So, but anyway, tell you what, Cult of Chucky, I'm going to choose the unrated version. Okay. Everybody make sure you're good to go at the beginning of the Universal logo. Now, I'll talk a little bit when the movie starts. I'll talk a little bit about the unrated version for Curse of Chucky, which I also have on this lovely Universal Blu-ray set. And that signature up here, for those who missed the commentary last week, that is of actress Danielle Basutti, who played Barbara in Curse of Chucky. And I met her a few weeks ago at the New Jersey Comic-Con. And she was very lovely, very beautiful, and she was gracious enough to sign my Chucky set. And she also, I believe she also signed the, no, she did not sign the DVD. She signed the, I think it was part of the insert. No, maybe it's just the front, sorry. But yeah, at any rate, so, all right, so I'm at 000 for Cult of Chucky. And we can count down on 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, but real quick, just to say hi real quick to Bib in the commentary. Yes, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. This is for Tupac. You know, it's interesting, Ben, that Tupac Shakur's film debut just came out on Blu-ray courtesy of Shout Factory, if I'm not mistaken. Dan Aykroyd's Nothing But Trouble. If you remember, he did the... all around the world, the same song. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. yeah. That music number from the end of Nothing But Trouble. It's kind of a classic in its own right. It's actually one of the best parts of the movie, even though that movie has a pretty awful reputation. But yeah, I'll tell you what. Okay, this is for Tupac. Yeah. All right. So. Okay, I'm at 000, and we will press play on the count of 3. 3, 2, 1, and play. And here we have the Universal logo. The same logo that was used, obviously, for Curse of Chucky, the very modern Universal logo. Which here again, I mean, I can't help but think that Child's Play 2, the opening of Child's Play 2 is so epic with those different Universal logos when they were celebrating the 75th anniversary at the time. You know, I mean, that may be my favorite opening of all the Child's Play movies. Not necessarily my favorite ending, but definitely my favorite opening. So here we open up in a city, presumably. Actually, this was filmed in Canada, just to refresh real quick. But let me just turn on the subtitles real quick. I do apologize. Bear with me. Okay. Now, we open up on a couple who are out to dinner in a very fancy restaurant. And pretty much within the first couple pages of Don Mancini's script, we realize that this is, in fact, Andy Barclay, all grown up from Child's Play 1 and Child's Play 2. And yes, this is the same actor, Alex Vincent. And it's great to see him again. I mean, it really honestly is great to see him again. And this is why, I mean, what's interesting about this franchise is that it almost comes full circle in a way with Andy's return. And here again, it also helps that it's Alex Vincent and not the actor from Child's Play 3. Nothing against him, but here again, I mean, there is definitely a nostalgic cuckoo going off when it comes to seeing Alex Vincent again in this role. And he's obviously trying to, woo this lady out to dinner, but now these are scenes from the unrated version of Curse of Chucky. Now, Curse and Cult both have unrated versions on the Blu-ray. I believe streaming online are theatrical versions. I mean, it's not much in terms of running time, but at the same time, it's important to note that at the end of Curse of Chucky, after the end credits, and after we found out that Jennifer Tilly has basically sent Chucky Charles Lee Ray in the mail, um, at the end of Curse of Chucky, we realized that Andy Barclay had gotten a Chucky in the mail after after Fiona Dourif had unfortunately gone to a psychiatric hospital. And here he arrives home at this cabin in the middle of nowhere. Who knows where it is? But as you can see, he has a lot of taxidermy, raccoons, and stuff like that. He's got a lot of beer in the fridge, and he's about to. I mean, he obviously struck out with this girl, very pretty lady, by the way. But yeah, but when she found out apparently that he has a shit ton of guns, she decided to pass. You automatically feel for him. You automatically feel for him. You know, hey, I mean, we realize though that he doesn't really own these guns because he is a gun aficionado. And of course, Kent Military Academy is, of course, the same academy which Child's Play 3 was set in, as most fans know. And here he is opening his safe, and what do we find but a largely blown off Chucky head, which is pretty awesome. And I love this prosthetic head that they're able to come to life right here. It's amazing, especially after all this time. I mean, since 1988, decades upon decades of perfecting these effects, and they're still a sight to behold, in my opinion. But at the end of Curse of Chucky, he had blown his head off, or at least it showed that. At least you think it showed that, but this is the result of that. But Chucky is still alive, and Andy is keeping him strapped down in terms of chains and nails, head only, and turns out to be a good idea. Now, giving him some 420 here, a little bit of the marijuana, which I wouldn't blame Andy for needing marijuana every now and then to relax after all he's been through. Shit. But now we're about to have some fun. Little tip of the hat to Nightmare on Elm Street there, I believe. And of course, once again, this is Brad Dourif's voice saying these vulgar but still hilarious lines. I mean, I could listen to Brad. I mean, I don't know. Brad Dourif should do like an audiobook or something. I don't know. I don't know if it would be like Chucky's life story or whatever. I mean, look, the guy, I can't help but just love hearing his voice every time he speaks. And here we have the title Cult of Chucky. Fiona Dourif is back, which, that was what I was looking forward to the most with regards to this entry when I was able to see it for the first time, was that, oh yeah, Fiona's coming back, kick ass. With Jennifer Tilly. Jennifer Tilly has a slightly bigger role here. And of course, Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky. And of course, we catch up here. And yes, in real time, this is basically 2017 as we catch up with Fiona Dourif's character 3 years later, based on characters created by Tom, animatronic characters by Tony Gardner and Alterian. Bravo. Bravo. They deserve those credits, especially especially that far up in the credits. Absolutely. Now, Cult of Chucky, The thing is that when I noticed rankings and everything, oh, hey, Dan, good evening. Glad you can make it. Happy Halloween, Stone. Happy Halloween to you. I'm setting up for my party tomorrow, but I'm enjoying listening while I work. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I'm just talking about Cult of Chucky here and how it's great to see Fiona Dourif back here again 3 years later. But apparently she went through a lot of crap in the meantime, a lot of, yeah, body torture, I guess you could say. But of course, I mean, being convicted of murders at her house and ending up, in this state, ugh, it's just horrible. I mean, I am a massive Nika fan, just to let everybody know, and after you can't imagine what she has gone through for 3 years. This is what she's gone through for the past 3 years, period. Every week, every month for 3 years. And that would, I can't imagine, that would destroy anybody, I think. But I mean, as we know, Nika, she still has a portion of herself left. Hopefully. I mean, at first I was well, how long is this rehabilitation going to take? Well, the thing is that, I mean, she's basically been more or less primed to accept the fact that Chucky never existed, that she made it up and that she did it all herself. I mean, that's the thing. It's like with the first Child's Play. They think that Andy was responsible for all these murders. Well, now they think that Nika's responsible for all these murders. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Chucky's been around for 7 movies, and he's hell of a good serial killer if he's managed to make these adults, people around him, thinking that they committed all these murders and not a doll. And that's what I'm saying is that Charles Lee Ray, he knows how to play that doll at this point. He knows exactly what to do. He knows all the tricks. He can manipulate anybody. He could trick anybody into, he could say anything at this point, and it would be either hilarious or it would, be, deliberate. And I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of Chucky dialogue in this movie that I adore. Okay, the thing is, this movie has a mediocre reputation among Chucky fans. I don't really get it. I mean, and this is just what I've seen for the most part when I look at other people's rankings, that this tends to be at the bottom. I can't agree with that. I love Cult of Chucky. I think it is a more than worthy follow-up to to Curse. And like I said, it's great to see. I mean, this movie has a $6.5 million budget, by the way. Universal rewarded Don Mancini, and I think rightfully so, after Curse of Chucky released only Blu-ray, but it ended up being so well, both critically and with the horror community and with Chucky fans, very high praise all around, and how it connected back to the 1988 original film. Cult of Chucky, when it came out 3 years later, it didn't quite have the same reception, although critically speaking, it still got largely favorable notice. I mean, I think the Rotten Tomato score was like 79%, but at the same time, still, the fact is that this movie was accepted and for the most part, I think, liked. But here again, it didn't seem to work for some people as much as Curse did. But I think it's almost as good. But anyway, Nika, as you can see, is now in this sort of medium security psychiatric hospital after, here again, going through 3 years of torture. I would say I don't generally like movies that are set in mental hospitals. There's something almost maddening about them, no pun intended. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, okay, The legendary film set in a mental ward is, of course, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And, of course, as many Chucky fans know, Mr. Brad Dourif not only made his debut in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but he also won a large number of awards. I mean, right out the gate. Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. That's pretty significant. And of course, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is famous as being um, the second film in film history to win the 5 major Oscars: picture, actor, actress, screenplay, and directing, of course. After it happened one night, and of course, The Silence of the Lambs, and it's only happened 3 times. But One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is one of them. Now, when people think of 1975 cinema, I think they mostly think of Jaws first. I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was the movie that swept all the awards, and it was, still is a powerful film about the human spirit. And anybody who's a Jack Nicholson fan, a Milos Forman fan, or Michael Douglas produced the movie. Hell, it's a must see. It's an absolute must see. And Brad Dourif is, of course, famous for that, but also obviously a bit more famous for Charles Lee Ray and voicing Chucky. Um, But I mean, there's something about psychiatric hospitals that kind of I don't. It's just not something I like to return to in movies when it comes to different movies with different settings. It's not one that I try to avoid them for the most part, because I mean, I think I saw Girl Interrupted once. I mean, just random movies that tend to have this kind of setting, I just generally stay away from. But I mean, Nika is going to be getting to know a very interesting series of patients here, including this guy, who has a bit of a character change coming later. I mean, he introduces himself as Michael, but as we can probably surmise, what's his tick? Well, I mean, obviously, with all these patients, you have to question. I mean, not exactly who they are, but what are they in there for? That has to be depicted. And I think that Don Mancini does a terrific job with all of these characters in terms of how he writes them. And I think that it's a nice balance between different personalities. People that are much different than Nika, and and everything. But I will say, the gentleman who plays the doctor, he gives one of my favorite performances in this movie, and right from the get-go, from the very beginning, I just don't like him. There's something about him that is so, uh, you know, not necessarily creepy, but just uncomfortable. You just he's the type of guy you just don't want to talk to. And he's just the type of guy I would try to avoid like the fucking plague. Okay, he's not a there's something so slimy about him from the very, very beginning. And of course, Don Mancini, he takes his time playing all his cards in the script. Here again, I don't know why a cult is as loved as maybe some of the earlier Child Play movies, but I like how radically different it is. I mean, Curse of Chucky was a nice throwback to the '88 original. This one goes in a completely different direction, like a lot of the films do. And I think it takes advantage of the setting to the nth degree with this interesting mix of personalities. And of course, I mean, you have a heroine in Nika that you should be rooting for by now to try to survive this phase of her life. And but at any rate, so now this film it's not necessarily a bridge between Curse and the TV show. I mean, I'd like to think that the TV show will eventually maybe acknowledge events in this movie, but so far it hasn't. And and it actually kind of opens up in a completely different way that I was expecting, and an entirely different location that I was expecting. And of course, none of the characters from these movies, save for Brad Dourif, um, have made their appearances yet. But, and I'm not going to reveal anything right now, but look, there's going to be a lot of actors returning to that series. And that's part of the reason why I'm so looking forward to continuing with the series. And here again, everybody that just came in, I will reiterate what I said at the beginning of the stream, in that I will be doing the Child's Play. Excuse me. I will be doing the Chucky series audio commentaries for the first 4 episodes next Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. So I got one more to do. I got one more Child's Play commentary episode to do before I really wrap it up. Maybe I'll do another one on later episodes. I don't know, but and of course, here we finally have the appearance of Chucky, a little bit later than Curse. As a matter of fact, let's see, yeah, at approximately the 19-minute mark. For those who are just joining in, yeah, I'm almost to the 19-minute mark. I mean, it's pretty much there. But yeah, as all screenwriting guides say, the exciting incident has to happen 20 minutes in a movie, and of course we have the legendary Chucky himself. And here again, a bit different than we saw him before. Here again, every single one of these films, different settings, different approaches to Chucky, different characters for the most part. They all act so beautifully together. I mean, here again, this is my favorite horror franchise in so many ways and on so many levels. And, even Seed of Chucky, which I defended to the hilt 2 weeks ago. I am so proud of that commentary, by the way, of Seed of Chucky, because I think I really delivered in terms of explaining what Mancini's intentions were with that movie, because it tends to be misunderstood and it needs to be watched as a black comedy, not a scary horror movie. Now, Curse went back to the scary horror movie tone of the original, which of course a lot of fans loved, he included, but it still had that humor, which I appreciated. Here it ups the humor again, which I'm fine with. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think there is enough good kills and also enough good Chucky lines to justify this being called a good Chucky movie. Maybe not a great one, but I mean, here again, I love it almost as much as Curse. It's right under Curse, literally right under Curse. I mean, this might be my number 2 of the entire franchise. Not saying now, I'm just saying. Yeah, I really, really like Cult of Chucky. And here again, I fell in love with Fiona Dourif with the first film, as I explained before. And I was also lucky enough to meet her at another New Jersey horror con. Unfortunately, that was before I got my Chucky set, so she wasn't able to sign it. But, she was, here again, she was the main reason why I was looking forward to watching this movie. And she and her dad, Brad, deliver in spades. They both deliver in exactly what we expect from them and what we want from them. And I really love Fiona Dourif's performance in this movie. And here again, the doctor, slimy as hell. I do not. I mean, I almost can't stand to look at him. Let me put. Here's a little fact. Well, okay, I won't talk about that, because of course here we have. Oh my God, the smoldering Jennifer Tilly making a full blossom return. Okay, it's a little more than a cameo, admittedly. She does return, though. She has a slightly bigger part here than she has in Curse of Chucky. And of course, she finds out the little girl Alice from Cursed. Well, apparently Jennifer Tilly. I love this. I'm sorry. I do get a kid. I mean, you want to call that dialogue ridiculous. I love it. I love it. Nika just basically said, "Hey, has anybody ever told you look like Jennifer Tilly?" Yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure she does. I'm sure she does. Jennifer Tilly is a dream, a vision. I want to see her do. I want to see her do like bigger budget movies, maybe period pieces. Um, I mean, she is awesome in just every single way. All right. Oh, hey, Dying Breed. How you doing? Hello, sir. First time here, but hello and hello, YouTube is your famous checking in from Georgia. Oh, how you doing tonight? Glad you could join me. I'm going to take a slight moment here during the commentary to let everybody know I've been on cloud nine for the past 48 hours because uh, Thursday night at 10 p.m. I managed to catch a showing of Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. It's one of the most amazing adventures I've ever had in a movie theater in my entire life. And I've been going to movies for 35 years now. Started in 1986 with An American Tail. Last Night in Soho is, without doubt, one of the most. I felt like I just went to the. I just felt like I traveled through space and came back. It is one of the most extraordinary cinematic experiences I've ever had. And yes, it is a horror film. It is a psychological horror film of epic proportions, massive budget, massive period detail, ghosts galore, trippy time travel, twists all over the place. It is a genre mashup that crackles and booms and flies. It is literally a life-changing experience. I am not exaggerating. That is not fucking hyperbole. Go and check out Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho as soon as you possibly can. You will not regret it. If it doesn't work for you, I'll pay for your ticket. Okay, but by God, that is one of the great film experiences of my life. I will never forget it. And when I get it on Blu-ray, I'm going to be watching it a shit ton of times. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get back to Cult of Chucky. And Chucky just made his very first movement after being left in that room here. Now, I'm pretty sure that here again that the Shining influence comes in as well. I mean, Don Mancini, I mean, loves his horror, and he's obviously studied everything that you could imagine when it comes to horror, and he does put a lot of different things in this movie which might make you think of films like The Shining and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, honestly, even though that's not really a horror. But I mean, I felt like, I really felt like, I was watching a film that could have been easily made in the 70s and 80s. It really, really works. But here again, gorgeous cinematography. And Chucky is about to make his first choice of weapon here. And decides to grab a scalpel. Why not? Why not? We might as well just kick it off right here. Let's kick it off right here and let's have a kill. This all surprised me when I first saw it. I was actually very surprised here again on where this movie went and the different little. This movie doesn't have a lot of twisting. It's fairly straightforward, but it has a lot of what I'd like to call funny little interesting curls in the plot, which I very much enjoy. I'm not going to hurt you. Okay, now this is probably my favorite line in the movie right here is when, to tell you the truth, I'm happy to have the company, even if you aren't real. And Chucky says, he says, aren't you the crazy bitch I talked to over the phone? And then of course he goes, I'm a vintage mass marketing toy from the 80s. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I see things. Here we go. Aren't you the crazy bitch I talked to last night on the phone? That when I first heard that line and saw that, I just laughed my ass off. One of my favorite Chucky lines, period, is that one right there. And it's in Cult of Chucky. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, so obviously he's trying to make his way to Nika's room here. I think the pacing here is really well done as well. I mean, I complained, a bit during Child's Play too, during the whole, Foster family second half. That I just wish it would speed itself up a bit. This pacing just works perfectly for me. And well, we're assuming this is Nika, even though we haven't seen her in bed, but a part of her wheelchair wheel is missing. And when Chucky creeps around the bed, well done sequence. I really like this. Sees some blood on the floor, dripping blood, and looks up. Oh. Well, I mean, the thing is, when I first saw this, I was actually quite devastated because, of course, I wasn't expecting Nika to go this route. Um, but Don Mancini has a few tricks up his sleeve in telling this story. Um, and we finally get to Nika's room. But interestingly enough, oh, not so fast, Nika. And he actually stitched up her arm slice. Wow. This is going to be a battle of wills, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an interesting battle. Um, it's going to be very interesting who comes out on top. Luckily, she convinces him to actually leave the room so she can plan her next move and go from there. Now, I mean, that's the thing. This is a very white movie. I mean, just like all the walls are white. I mean, everything is just, oh man, so plain. I mean, a real difference from like all the colors of Bride of Chucky, the spectacle. And here we are basically enclosed and basically, locked away in a psychiatric ward. Mm. Chucky did it. That's what I'm saying. Charles Lee Ray is not playing around this time. This is going to be a bigger battle than just a simple a simple kill. I mean, you probably would have expected, I mean, him thinking that, okay, this has got to be her slicing her throat up, and it turns out to be somebody completely different. I love what Don Mancini does. Apparently, Andy is still working on Fruit Loops here. So, as you can see from this little video, he's trying to convince the doctor, Nika's doctor, that in fact Chucky is real and that he has the real Chucky. That one just never gets old. You know what, Andy? What if you really are crazy? Yeah. I mean, what? Seriously, think about it. I mean, is this going to be his life from now on? He's just going to be talking to Chucky and only his head for the rest of his life in a cabin with a shit ton of guns? I mean, for real. I mean, excuse me for a moment. Taking some water here. Anybody else that's joining us in the chat, please say hi. Hey, anybody, share with me your opinions on Cult of Chucky, and I'll definitely bring it up on screen here. Very nice production design too. I mean, here again, I mean, these sets work for me. I mean, the sets work for me. The setting works for me. The comedy works for me. Now, this is another great little trick that Don Mancini plays on the audience here is, wait a minute. Who is the real Chucky is basically the question mark here. Does Andy have the real Chucky, or does he have an original Chucky? Which might open the door to what Don Mancini is basically doing here in tricking the audience and in realizing, now, wait a minute. Not only who is the real Chucky, but why are there multiple Chuckies? Prove that it's just a doll. Okay. The doctor's idea to prove it, though, is to basically get out a lighter. But as you can see, another one of the patients has grown attached to her doll. Now, that actress holding the other doll is a Canadian actress, but is it just me, or does she have the spitting image of Lily Taylor? I honestly think that she does. Let's see, the plastic. And of course, this opens up the other idea that I've asked in every single one of these movies. Does Chucky feel pain? Does he actually feel, anything? I mean, in most of the other movies, it suggests that it does, but not in every movie, which is a little bit odd. I like the close up on the eyes. Is there a flinch? Is there a flinch? Mm-hmm. Unless he could possibly tolerate all that, which it does leave that question. It does leave that door open as well. And of course, she's like, "No, no, 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 no! You are not touching this Chucky doll. No, no, no." So, yeah. Now it's interesting when this guy introduced himself before as Michael. Well, apparently his real name is Malcolm, and he's known as Multiple Malcolm because he obviously has split personalities. And I don't know if any of you, I really like the movie Split, but here again, the M. Night Shyamalan movie. But I got to admit, I passed on Glass, and here again, part of it is due to my ambivalence of watching movies set in mental wards or hospitals. I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a genuine classic, and of course, in some ways, it might actually make a nice double feature with Cult of Chucky. But I mean, but seriously, the only other movie set in this type of environment that I personally could watch again if I wanted to would be a 1948 film called The Snake Pit, which stars Olivia de Havilland, who passed away last year at the age of 104, by the way. Legendary actress of the golden era of the 30s and 40s. She played Melanie Hamilton in Gone with the Wind. Well, in 1948, she starred in a movie called The Snake Pit, which was based on Mary Jane Ward's book about surviving in a institution. And of course, there's a lot of outdated torture techniques that patients go through, and the snake pit is it's a very visual thing, if you can imagine a bunch of mental patients spiraling and everything. Very famous image in 40s cinema, and that's why they call it the snake pit. That's one of the few other movies that I would watch that are set in these type of environments. There's just something about them. I don't know. I'd rather watch a prison movie, believe it or not. I mean, I'd rather watch Shawshank Redemption, or even something of that nature. But there's something about movies set in mental hospitals which just they rub me the wrong way. They turn me off. They there's something about them. So basically, aside from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Snake Pit is probably the only other one I'm willing to watch. And of course, this is different because this is a horror film, and it's part of this franchise. But yeah, just not my cup of cinematic tea. I gotta confess, not my cup of cinematic tea at all. Needless to say, those are both extremely strong recommendations for The Snake Pit, 1948, and of course, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975. Now, here we have another interesting dynamic in this movie where Fiona is able to look outside at this lady with outdoor privileges and gets a little bit of a middle finger from Chucky there. Chucky is just going to fuck with her this whole movie. Oh, and it's glorious. And now, don't get me wrong. I'm rooting for Nika all the way. I am rooting for her all the way to beat Chucky. And well, here again, I mean, this film, it does have some surprises, which I gotta credit Don Mancini for delivering those surprises, I think, very effectively. Now, this is probably my favorite death in the movie, my favorite kill, because it harkens back to a death from Bride of Chucky. Not necessarily the same thing, although it is similar in some ways. But she's they think that she's bit herself, but in fact, Chucky has bitten her, and they're basically gonna knock her out and do whatever they want with her, which. Here again, like I said, there's something about these movies I just can't. I can only spend so long in this type of environment before I go a little nuts myself. Yeah, definitely one place we don't want to. Any of us don't want to end up. Absolutely. Mass hysteria in action. That's the thing. I mean, that's sort of what become a common psychiatric term, I guess now. Mass hysteria. I first heard that in the 1956 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is my vote for the best sci-fi horror film in the 1950s period, and a film that had plenty of sci-fi and plenty of horror. Um, some of you might go with Day the Earth Stood Still or even The War of the Worlds, but no, to me, it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I also prefer it over the 1978 remake, which, hey, I'll agree with everybody on The Thing is better than the original, The Fly is better than the original, The Blob is better than the original. I can't agree with Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The 1956 original for me is unlike Nightmare on Elm Street, it's the film that literally made me afraid to go to sleep at night. Well, that and Poltergeist, because I actually lived in a house that was the exact same structure as the house, and I had an old ass tree outside my bedroom window. And worst of all, I was sleeping with my head faced to the other side of the room, and the window with the old tree outside was behind me. I didn't sleep for fucking weeks after watching Poltergeist. I will attest to that. It doesn't really scare me now, but I still love the movie. Little too close to home, I guess you could say. Oh, seriously. I mean, I was just so scared that that tree was going to come alive and just breaking through my window and just grab and eat me every fucking night, man. Every fucking night. But at any rate, here we have Chucky scurrying out, about to do a bit of killing. Canister of compressed oxygen. Ooh, shit. Compressed. Does that mean what I think it means? Yes, I think it does. I think it does. You know what? For once, I got to say this. For once, I would like to see Chucky just tie his shoes. I mean, come on. He's got to tie his shoes at least, 6 or 7 times in the course of these movies, right? I mean, come on. For once, I want to see a shot of him tie his shoes. Don Mancini, could you please give us that in a Chucky episode? I want to see him tie his shoes for once. I mean, he bitches and complains about doing dishes, right? But yeah, I know. I shouldn't have talked over this kill, I guess. But and the head rolls right to his feet. Sometimes I scare myself. Yes. Damn. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite kill. Definitely my favorite kill in the movie. Here again, gorgeous, gorgeous cinematography. I love the snow slowly falling on her. Very, very poetic almost. Very, very gorgeous to see and very, quite poetic. It's amazing. And I do feel this movie has a generous amount of gore. It doesn't go overboard with it, but I do think that there is a generous amount. PerezHilton.com. Yeah. I don't know if they're alluding to Paris Hilton with that. I mean, yeah, you remember Paris Hilton, right? The star of the Shawshank Redemption, where she escaped from prison. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chucky did it. It was an accident, Nina. Yeah, here again, here again, here again. I mean, granted, we've seen, variations of this type of scene before in the entire series, say, no, it was Chucky. It was Chucky. No, a doll couldn't have done that. You have plenty of people that don't believe that a doll could become possessed or could be possessed. And I'm not going to reiterate all that in the previous commentaries. I've already talked about that to death, I think. But you know, I'm inclined to believe that yes, I'm inclined to believe that there are possessed dolls out there. Now, whether I want to pay a visit to one of them, probably not. I wouldn't have much to say. I don't know what I would say or what I would bring, but because that's the thing. I mean, I feel compelled not to mock or laugh at so-called possessed dolls. It's just I don't it's just something I don't want to take the risk, And I'm not a very superstitious person, but I don't know. I'll try to avoid them. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to avoid them like the plague. Although if there are lost souls and dolls, I definitely feel for you, and I can understand your frustration about being stuck in a children's toy, essentially. Now we're about to do some hypnosis here, which apparently this doctor has performed on Nika before, and here we have one of the more disturbing elements of this movie, where proving what I was concerned about before, about when you first see this doctor, you just feel uneasy. You feel uneasy and uncomfortable. You don't want to be around him. You don't even want to be in the same fucking room as he is in. But in this case, you think, oh no, wait a minute. There's something even deeper here. There's something even more disturbing than just. And I mean, I love the lighting. I love the what he's doing here. And like I said, I mean this flashing light. It's funny. In the very first Chucky episode, there was a disclaimer about strobes or blinking lights, which I found interesting. That could rattle somebody's senses. And I've noticed that like at theaters too. So I mean, it's not just Chucky. I mean, I've noticed like signs of this at theater. Like this is actually a thing. I mean, here again, maybe I'm thinking of this, in the same way I'm thinking of somebody getting motion sickness during something like, say, the Blair Witch Project or the Bourne Supremacy. That people actually have, effects to these things that are, uncomfortable and maybe even a little painful. I believe it. I'm not. I can take it though. I think I can. I've sat through Cannibal Holocaust twice. I can take a lot of shit. I can take a lot of shit on screen. Now I'll never watch Cannibal Holocaust again because, to quote the zombie kid from YouTube, I like turtles, so I will never ever see Cannibal Holocaust again. That's about probably that, and I Spit on Your Grave is the extent of cinema that I can stomach. But although I did actually like, part of me actually did like, what was it? The Human Centipede. There was something about that movie that I couldn't help but admire. There was something about it I couldn't help but admire it, even though, it was largely dismissed and with prejudice, with rather vulgar prejudice. But come on, Nika, you want to. And I got to admit, the first time I was seeing this, I was actually kind of rooting for her to do it. I really love Chucky's eyes in this movie, I think, more than previous ones. I mean, he's a bit cleaner, but he's also very brighter too. And I think that adds to the, we got rid of the stitches for a while, and now we have a modern day, clean, good guy doll. And here again, the guys behind the animatronics on this, they can do whatever they want. And like I said, I love the designs for the Chuckies in these past two movies. I really, really do. Those could have been ruby red slippers, if you really wanted to go that far. And of course, there's the little girl from Curse of Chucky who did not die. I mean, we were under the impression for a while, it's like, wait a minute, did the little girl die or no? No. The little girl is fine. I'm going to do a timestamp for everybody real quick. See where we are here. We are at approximately 52 minutes in. Approximately 52 minutes in. So anybody that wants to sync up, we have about 40 minutes left of Cult of Chucky here. Oh, I like that. I like this visual right here. This is pretty fucking cool. Now, yeah, so we have about 40 minutes left of Cult of Chucky. And then we'll start the 2019 reboots from MGM United Artists, which here again, I'm not going to have much to say about. I mean, not because I'm tired, but I mean, here again, when I saw it again today, I was kind of shaking my head like, oh no, this one's going to be this is going to be a rough one. But here, I mean, these images right here, I love these images that permeate throughout Cult of Chucky. I'm loving what Mancini's doing, and he's able to do whatever he wants. He's got a nice little budget to play around with, $6.5 million after Curse did so well, and I think he achieved a lot here visually and otherwise. The effects are amazing, and it's amazing when you see all the films in progression, one after the other, how they improve over time. It's pretty remarkable. Recently, I did a commentary with a bunch of buddies for Night of the Demons 3, and I mentioned during that movie about makeup and everything. And if I remember correctly, I was talking about the makeup in the Jackass movies, because a lot of people their minds were blown because Bad Grandpa, the fourth Jackass movie, actually got an Academy Award nomination for hair and makeup, which was not only well deserved, but they should have fucking won. And the reason is, a lot of people don't realize this. Most movies, when the makeup crew comes and they do up the actors and everything, it's always in a controlled environment, and they're always acting in front of other actors. Not all the time, but most of the time. The film that actually won was Dallas Buyers Club, and that the makeup in that was about as traditional as it gets. Yes, did I buy Matthew McConaughey as he got worse with his condition with AIDS? Oh, absolutely. But we see, I think what they achieved with Bad Grandpa was even on the next level, because think about it. Johnny Knoxville walked around and everybody thought he was an 86-year-old man. They all talked to him up close. They saw him up close. They talked to him up close. 99.9% of everybody he talked to and conversed with out in real America had no clue that this was, in fact, a 42-year-old comedian and not an 86-year-old man. That's why Bad Grandpa should have won that hair and makeup Oscar. It was revolutionary. Absolutely revolutionary. But here again, the Jackass series, you see the progression of that makeup. Like here, we see the progression of the animatronics and everything over the course of the franchise. And I still haven't decided yet if I want to see Jackass 4. That will be coming out in January for all those that are interested. It's kind of funny because Alex Vincent kind of reminds me of Bam, right? Just looking at his profile right there. But yeah, it's kind of a shame that Bam is not going to be part of Jackass 4. But I mean, we're going to be introducing a bunch of new jackasses to the arena, including a woman. So yeah, hey. Let's see what these guys do, because I mean, I've been a fan of that series from the very beginning, and which is odd because I'm not a fan of fraternity humor at all. That's typically that, I mean, MTV frat boy stuff, that's not my thing. But I've always loved the Jackass series, and I've always admired these guys for doing anything and going to the absolute limit and beyond just for a laugh. They will do anything for laughs. Anything. And it's pretty hilarious stuff. But anyway, yeah, this character Madeline, who here again, not Lily Taylor, even though it kind of has a resemblance to her. We're going to close her story here real quick as we build up for another kill here. We obviously now know who's going to be Chucky's next victim. But I think this is actually a rather touching story, character arc for her in terms of, losing a child, and then she used this doll just for a temporary amount of time to, try to harken back to what she had lost and, hold on to something that doesn't exist anymore. And I think it's well done. I think Don Mancini gives all these characters, like multiple Malcolm, all these guys, just enough dimension and just enough backstory that that you appreciate their character routes as much as what Nika's going through, and everything. It's not a baby, it's just a doll. Yeah. Finally accepting reality for what it is, and that, maybe there's something up here. I mean, the doctor is, of course, steadfast in his attitude about, oh, no, Chucky is it's just a doll. It's a toy from the 80s. Big deal, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that considering this is the 7th film in the franchise, I mean, that's the thing, is that you got to think, how many more movies there are going to be that are going to recycle these themes and these question marks. But here again, the setting gives it more than enough difference from all the other movies that it works. The sound was like a sharp piece of glass drilling into my head. Oh man. I do like the dialogue in this movie. I really do like it. Excuse me while I take another drink some more water here. I like to be hugged. That I like to be hugged phrase, that's the title of the 3rd episode of the Chucky series. Hope Dan and Ben and Bib and Diane Breen, hope you guys are enjoying yourselves tonight. Hope my commentary is going perfectly fine. The amazing thing is that the first 6 the first 6 commentaries I did, I kind of talked myself out of the franchise with those 6 commentaries, and I managed to make them all very, very different in terms of what each film was presenting. With these last 2 films, I'm tempted to make a few more pauses than I normally do, just because I'm kind of, well, not just tired, but also talking about Child's Play. And that's the thing. This 7th film, I like it, but there's only so many ways I can say, yeah, I like this aspect, or I appreciate this aspect, or just everything that I love about this movie. There's only so far I can go before it becomes rather tedious. And that's the thing. At this point, I almost feel like I've said almost practically everything I'm going to say, but I'm going to still champion my way through this. And that's the thing. The remake, hopefully I'll have a few more things to say about the remake, but oh man, I'm going to be struggling through that second commentary. I'm warning you all right now. Cult of Chucky, there's so much here that I love that, that I barely have enough to keep talking on. But with the Child's Play remake, oh God, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. And I promise you all, I'm going to do my best to maintain something with that movie. This movie, I can maintain a conversation. Child's Play remake, that's something else entirely. Something else absolutely entirely. Excuse me just 1 second. Yeah, this would be a great film to watch in the wintertime, with all the snow and everything. And in many shots, that it actually looks like real snow. It actually doesn't look like that. Actually, does look real, even though it's probably not. I mean, it's coming down pretty hard. I always like doing that in films. Try to figure out, like, is the weather real? Is the rain real? Is the snow real? And the more real it is, I mean, the more I absolutely appreciate on the part of the filmmakers to be, put in as much verisimilitude as possible. Now, this Chucky is, of course, a lot different in that there's a different mop hair, as you can see. It's the tomboy Chucky, I guess you could say. Yeah, and the suit's a little bit more faded. It's almost like it was like put together. Ah, somebody's been putting Chuckies together. Well, of course, we know that as Tiffany, has been sending different Chuckies in the mail to different places, like to Andy's house, and several has come to the hospital, obviously in a battle to get after Nika. And but like I said, the quote unquote Chuckies in this movie, they got another plan that they're going to be executing to get back at Nika. Oh, yes. And here again with the shoelaces. I mean, just once, I just want to see Chucky tie his shoes. I mean, I'm sorry. I need to petition Don Mancini to do this eventually. It's just something I have to see. I'm surprised that it hasn't become like I don't know, like a meme or a commercial or something. Just I just want to see him tie his shoes, like finally going out and getting ready to do some murder. I mean, come on. I'm begging for it. I'm begging you, Don Mancini. Give me a shot of Chucky tying his damn shoes. Just do it. Oh, come on. Yeah, now she's officially on suicide watch now. But of course, she's about to become another. Oh, and I love the different Chuckies in this movie. I love how they're all different in terms of how they look and how even the uniforms is different. I mean, there's different aspects to all the Chuckies in this movie, and I love it. Now, I don't. I've seen this movie enough times where I should know like how many Chuckies there are. I believe they're five. I believe they're five if you count the Chucky head at Andy's log cabin in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So yeah, there's about five Chuckies in this movie. Now this is a rather gruesome death, or I mean, well, yeah, it's pretty fucked up if you ask me. I mean, what Chucky's about to do here, it's pretty sinister, pretty disgusting, pretty psychotic. But look, I mean, we have to have a variety with these kills, and that's another reason why I think Chucky even rises above Friday the 13th when it comes to horror franchises. I mean, this is my absolute favorite franchise. It is the zenith of horror franchises for me. It's above Nightmare, it's above Psycho, It's above everything. Everything, even Evil Dead. And I love all 4 Evil Dead films. Love all 4 of them. Now, anybody who just came in, I'm going to do another timestamp right here. We are at 1 hour and 7 minutes. 1 hour and 7 minutes and about 25 seconds. If you want to jump ahead, we're about to enter the 3rd act, which will be coming soon here. This movie, I can just relax and have fun and enjoy everything that Don Mancini is doing. The remake, it doesn't have that vibe. It just doesn't have that vibe. I mean, even though I appreciate the different take, and I know I should shut up about the remake until we get to it, but oh, like I said, this is my 7th commentary. You know, I'm running out of things to say about Child's Play. I just am. Yeah, there you go. Another memorable death, I think. I like all the deaths in this movie pretty much. I mean, here again, I mean, if you found the deaths in this movie disappointing, that's fine, but I dug all of them. I really did. Especially the one that was the homage to Bride of Chucky. Now the nurse is like, that's it. I'm done. I have to leave. I'm done. Not a moment too soon. Yeah, she might want to get out of there while the getting's good. Get rid of it. Finally. Moments like this, it almost makes me wonder if Mancini is trying to channel his inner Kubrick. I mean, yeah, it's not the same thing. It's definitely not the same thing. Far from it. But at the same time, I can't help but think that he had Kubrick on his mind when he was making this movie. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Nika in a straitjacket. How tragic is that? I mean, oh God. You got to consider, like like Alex Vincent's character, Andy Barclay, these characters have gone through so fucking much because of Chucky. It's like they can't catch a break. And now she's at the mercy of this doctor who, as we figured out from the hypnosis session that we saw earlier, probably more than likely molested Nika. Got very sexual with her. I mean, who knows? Use your imagination, or don't. Yeah, did naughty stuff with her. Let's put it that way. Naughty, rapey stuff. And it's like, oh God. I mean, how much more torture and how much more can this woman go through? Well, I gotta confess, the first time I saw this, and I realized what Don Mancini was about to do here in terms of making a literal leap for her character, the more I think about it, the more I love it. Now, there's another thing about red shoes in this movie, which is really interesting. Here again, is he just homaging Wizard of Oz? I mean, I find that hard to believe. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I can't think of any reason, other than, for some reason. I mean, this is just the second set of red shoes that we've seen in this movie. But of course, here it's a little bit more, oh man. So he has some kind of shoe fetish or whatever. But he's no Al Bundy in terms of relatability or likability. Let's put it that way. He's no Al Bundy. Diagnosed schizophrenic and a murderess of 5 people. Yeah. Oh. The cards are stacked heavily, but at the same time, if you believe in the heroine and you believe that she will have the strength to overcome all this, be prepared and think twice because it's about to get very, very interesting. I can't believe this guy. I don't know whether to kill him or take notes. I mean, that is dialogue. That is grade A Chucky dialogue. And this entire sequence right here is glorious. It's glorious. It's hilarious. It's epic. I love everything about it. And here again, I think with Cult of Chucky, I think it climaxed in a pretty awesome way. I mean, like I said, I am getting off at the sight of multiple Chuckies, all voiced by Brad Dourif, all with different types of personalities and different, different shades of clothes, different, damage to themselves more than other people. Possibly an LGBTQ Chucky, which I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. What the hell happened to you? Fiona, I mean, here again, when I asked during Bride of Chucky, I asked horror gal Susan, imagine being an actor and reacting to this stuff. Just imagine, how would you react to this? If this, a children's toy is actually beating to death with a yardstick. All actual examples. VoodooForDummies.com. Oh, yes. Maybe that joke would have been funnier a decade ago, but I mean, isn't it amazing how long we've had the internet now? We've had it for nearly 30 years. No, for real. For real. I remember first getting on the internet in 1994. And that was when I looked up the movie Just One of the Guys on IMDb.com. Okay. That was way back in 94. Imagine, this is now 2021. We've had the internet for 30 years. That's insane. It still feels like we barely have gotten used to it or touched the surface of what we're capable of. That is just, it blows my mind. It blows my mind that we've had the internet that long. It really has. Oh, yes. I love the steam. I love the steam coming out of these wounds. Oh, yes. See, now well, maybe this might be my favorite kill. I mean, getting killed by 3 Chuckies is pretty epic. Okay? I mean, come on. This is good stuff. I mean, here again, some of the best stuff since Child's Play 2. I dare myself to say that. This is some of the absolute best Chucky stuff since Child's Play 2. Welcome to the cult, pal. Yes. But of course, one thing I've also commented on throughout this whole series are the taglines that they have on the poster to sell the movies. Like, with Child's Play 2, we had Sorry Jack, Chucky's back. In number 3, we had Look Who's Stalking, Chucky Gets Lucky. For this film, they had the tagline, You May Feel a Little Prick. Yes. And considering what's happened, we've all felt the prick. Oh man, love the car. I'm not an expert on cars, I have to admit. If I was an expert on, I would call this car out and tell you everything about it, but unfortunately I can't. I've never ever been a car guy. Shame to say. I can still watch the fest. And it's Tiffany. For the first time in over 2 films, we finally have Tiffany back. Have a nice little throat slash. And of course, Jennifer Tilly, the legendary Jennifer, the one and only Jennifer Tilly. You know, I adore the Psycho franchise too, and it's wonderful that I'm also a fan of Meg Tilly, her sister, who was in Psycho 2, and she's done a number of great stuff as well. But Jennifer's the one I've always had the crush on. Adabaku Dambala. Yeah, here we go again with the. I mean, that's the thing. After 7 times of hearing this, you're like, okay. Now, I'm trying to remember, racking my brain if we've heard it in the series. I think we've heard it once in the series. But yeah, in every movie, they have to do the Ambala, the voodoo. Yeah. Whoa! Complete with the red shoes, she has emerged out of the wheelchair. She is walking. And soon we realize, oh shit. So this is what the voodoo did. Charles Lee Ray's profile has basically been in all these Chuckies. If you want to look at it as almost like she's been using the voodoo basically to put them into all these other dolls, to put Charles into all these other dolls. And sending them out in the mail as a army of some kind. There's definitely perks. Yes. So this is in fact another Chucky profile in Fiona Dourif's body. Nika's taking a sleep. Nika's going to be in a slumber for a while. Oh! Maybe, I don't know how much graphic this is in the unrated version, I got to admit, but oh! Yeah, let's just smash the doctor's face in a crap load of times and just, let him have it. And boy, did that doctor deserve it. Absolutely did that doctor deserve it. Okay, timestamp. We are approximately 1 hour and 20 minutes in. 1 hour and 20 minutes to anybody who wants to get in this late in the game. We have about 7-8 minutes to go before we wrap this up, and we're going to shoot on over to Child's Play the remake, which I actually might as well just jump to right now. But as Cult of Chucky wraps up, I'll go ahead and jump to multiple Malcolm is about to meet his fate, obviously. So at any rate, I mean, you don't necessarily have to watch Cult of Chucky before the series, because here again, it's not so much a bridge just as it is another movie continuing in that timeline. But like I said, I love Cult of Chucky almost as much as Curse of Chucky. And Curse of Chucky is the movie that made me a fan of this franchise. And ultimately, it's my number 1 of the franchise. So Cult may be number 2. It's kind of a tough call between Cult of Chucky and the original 1988 Child's Play for that second spot. And like I said, at the bottom of the ranking, it's still a battle between the Child's Play remake and Child's Play 3. But hopefully I'll have an official ranking by next week. And here again, anybody else that has just joined us, I want to reiterate one more time. Next Saturday night at 10 p.m., I will do one more Chucky live stream, as I will be doing audio commentary on the first 4 episodes of the Chucky television series. 10 p.m. Eastern on November 6th, Saturday, November 6th, 10 p.m. Eastern. The first 4 episodes of Chucky, I will be doing audio commentary for. I love this. Oh, oh, the bloody intestines plopping out. Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, I know. You could question like, oh, well, he has all these bloody organs and everything instead of actual mechanical parts. Well, I mean, even in the original Child's Play, they emphasize that he does have, well, the first 2 Child's Play definitely, they emphasize the fact that he can bleed, and he can be more than just damaged. He could experience pain, and he could fucking bleed. Another nice. I mean, even though that sloppy Joe type of effects. Love it, though. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And of course, Fiona just looks stunning, absolutely stunning with the red scarf and oh man. And so she left Andy in the. Let's see. That's why I'm saying I'm looking forward to in the Chucky series how they're going to connect these things. How does Andy get the hell out of this place? It's a good question. Anybody else in the chat, please be sure to say hi. Yes, I'll reiterate, this is for Tupac. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I believe we've reached the very last scene. Well, actually, no. Seeing how this is the unrated version, I am going to go ahead and keep playing through the end credits because, yes, there is a scene at the end. For those of you who are only watching the quote unquote rated version, I don't believe that end credit scene is. That's what I'm saying. Don Mancini, I mean, he was probably taking notes from Marvel when he was, thinking about, hey, you know what? I could throw in like an added scene or something. Throw in an extra little treat for the fans, and he did that for Curse of Chucky. In the unrated version of Curse of Chucky, we end with Chucky actually coming to Andy's log cabin in the middle of nowhere where he has a shit ton of guns, and Chucky gets his head blown off. So that was an added scene for the end of that movie, and then we started this one, Cult of Chucky, with Andy arriving home and of course taking Chucky's head out of the wall in a safe, covered by a Kent University Military Academy sweater that he kept after all these years. Nice little Easter eggs for the fans. That here again, I love all these films pretty much, but this is a personal favorite. This is definitely a personal favorite. I adore this. I adore Cult of Chucky. I actually do. Here again, maybe my second favorite of the franchise. It's definitely looking like it's got it, but here again, I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided. And so it ends on this great Thelma and Louise tribute of all things. But hey, don't be knocking Thelma and Louise. That is an awesome movie. It is one of Ridley Scott's best films. And, yeah, seeing Jennifer Tilly and Nika possessed by another Johnny by another profile that's in all the Chuckies of Charles Lee Ray. Yeah, uh, that's a hell of a way to end it, and that's what I'm saying. Now, Don Mancini has promised that he is going to make more movies in this original timeline. Luckily, the remake didn't spawn a sequel, and I think it's safe to say it's not going to get a sequel. And we'll talk about that obviously when we put on the Child's Play remake. But as a matter of fact, yeah, if you're watching the rated version, you might as well stop it now and go ahead to the Child's Play remake so we can go from there. But I'm still going to allow this to play. Just give me a moment here. It's amazing. Bride of Chucky seems to be the only one with a full soundtrack. Seems to be the only one that wants to do that. So I'm going to pause for the Child's Play remake at the opening. But here we are about to reach the end of the credits for. Okay, I'm paused at the Orion logo for Child's Play, the 2019 remake. But here we reach the end of Cult of Chucky of the unrated version. And title slowly fades out. We see Chucky's original head again. We hear a vehicle approaching. He's still stuck inside his house. Obviously, Andy has been locked in the ward there. And who arrives out of the snow, out of the blue? Kyle from Child's Play 2. A bit older, but she still looks almost exactly the same. A little shot of the picture just to remind people who she was from Child's Play 2. Maybe not necessarily, because I'm sure that people at Christina Lease as Kyle. And from what I understand, she will appear in the Chucky series as well. Like I said, it's going to be a gathering of family in more ways than one. But at any rate, so that was Cult of Chucky. I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm going to give everybody about 5 minutes here so to bring up their copies of the Child's Play remake, whether you watch it at Amazon Prime like me. I opted not to buy the Blu-ray of it. I really felt like I should just give it another watch through without buying the Blu-ray and make an ultimate choice at that point whether I actually want to buy it, because honestly there's more about it I don't like than like. And like I said, it's so different and so removed from the rest of the series that I you know I would rather just jump into the series directly from Cult of Chucky. Um, but I'm doing this obviously because the movie exists. And, well, I mean, here again, I want to give it a second shot, or rather a third shot, because rather I did see this earlier today. I mentioned this before and ended up having not much more than a heavy sigh. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's it's going to be a complicated and very rough final movie to do a commentary for. Let me just put it that way. It's going to be very, very rough. So I do apologize if I'm not as talkative throughout this commentary as I have been with the first 7 films, all the movies that Don Mancini worked on, and that the ones I love, and everything. I'll have much more. I'll have definitely a lot more to say next Saturday night when the Chucky episodes come into play. But for this remake, it's going to be there's a lot of weird stuff in this movie. I mean, that's the thing. It's so weird and so out there and so different. And yet at the same time, it's so frustrating and irritating in so many ways too. But anyway, tell you what, I will give everybody just we'll start on the count of 3. Like I said, I got it paused at the very beginning of the Orion logo for Child's Play 2019, directed by Lars Klevberg. Now, anybody who has seen this movie, please say something in the chat. Please let me know what you thought of this, because this had a very mixed reaction across the board. I mean, not only in terms of Chucky fans, but also just, critics. I mean, everybody had a very, very odd reaction to this. It seemed collectively. Some people liked it, some people didn't. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But at any rate, so I think we will start on the count of 3. I want to get this over with, obviously. So on the count of 3, we will start Child's Play 2019. 3, 2, 1, and press play. Now I got to turn the sound off here, obviously. But yeah, Orion Pictures is back. Now, if you watched movies in the 1980s, Orion was a big deal back then. Orion had been around since the late 70s. If I remember correctly, it was a bunch of former executives from either Warner Brothers or from another studio had started Orion Pictures. Now, well, actually, before I continue talking about Orion, this is, of course, Tim Matheson, who most people know from National Lampoon's Animal House. He played our one of our favorite frat boys in that. Now, I confess, I have nothing against Tim Matheson, and I think in this film he's perfectly fine as he basically runs this buddy company which sells this robotic toy, which is obviously in the shape of a doll, but instead of a good guy, it's a buddy, and it's got a much different look about him, even though this is obviously a clone of what we have seen before, just in a different type of here. Okay, we're going to have a lot to say. I'm going to have a lot to say about this Child's Play remake that I got to admit is going to be positive, but at the same time, when it really boils down to is that I just don't care for this movie. It's very odd. It just Orion Pictures presents. Okay, well, going back to Orion, real quick. Orion Pictures, they had released so many marquee movies back in the 1980s. I mean, what's astonishing, of course, is that they went bankrupt right before they had won back-to-back Best Pictures for Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves and Jonathan Demme's The Silence of the Lambs. And they went bankrupt and basically were dormant for better part of 30 years. They did, I mean, and they just came back within the past year. They were involved in Bill and Ted Face the Music, which was a film I really, really liked. I mean, and of course, Orion was, connected to the release of the Bill and Ted movies back in the late 80s and early 90s. And but the interesting thing is that MGM owns the Child's Play, the rights to the name Child's Play. So basically, they decided, well, you know what? Universal is celebrating with their own Chucky franchise and everything. Let's do a Child's Play remake, and basically, we'll use the same title, but maybe we'll make it really different. Maybe we won't. Who knows? Uh, uh, now, I'm sorry. This doll does nothing for me. It does nothing for me. I don't consider it creepy. I don't consider it very colorful. I don't consider it very eye popping or just eye appealing. There's nothing about this doll that I like, and that is a major problem. It Here again. I mean, it feels like the screenwriter decided to say, okay, why don't we do Chucky in a different universe? Why don't we do Chucky? Okay, so we got the title of Child's Play. Why don't we do Chucky in a completely different universe? And that's what this movie is, which, here again, giving credit where credit is due, I admire the fact that they go in a different galaxy with this remake rather than just rehashing the same old voodoo stuff. I guess on one hand, there is a relief to watching this movie, but at the same time, after watching 7 films of, I don't want to say the same thing because it wasn't really all the same thing, but after watching 7 films and then you get to this, it's like, here again, it's like you've entered another dimension in terms of the franchise. And oddly enough, not only do I don't like the design of this doll, and it does nothing for me on an emotional or horror level, but even worse, I hate the fact that they name him Chucky. You couldn't have come up with any different other name. And I'm not saying name the doll Buddy. That's the name of the doll line. But I mean, you could have named him, Kevin. You could have named him anything. Why did you have to name him Chucky? I think that's the biggest thing that grinds my gears when it comes to this remake. A simple name change. I would have been a little bit more accepting of this. And here again, it's not that I want to dismiss this film entirely as just something that is just so out of the box. I will say also, this is another criticism I must level forward here, is that while I have never seen the show Parks and Recreation, Aubrey Plaza does nothing for me as an actress in this movie. I think that she's phoning it in. I think that she's completely lifeless in this role. She just doesn't have an ounce of Catherine Hicks' appeal from the 1988 original. And look, it's fair to make comparisons because this is a remake. It's just done in a completely different universe and in a different, basically a completely different universe. I mean, the names are there, sadly. I mean, and like I said, it look, if you want, I mean, does it try hard enough to distinguish itself from the original? Yes, but I say that with a rather large amount of frustration, because here again, it just, none of these actors worked for me. This premise sort of worked for me, but then again, I had a lot of issues with how this doll operates and what drives it, what motivates it, I mean, that's the thing. It's basically a good robot goes bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, is it just me, or is that basically the entire plot in a nutshell? Good robot goes bad. And that's why I wanted to say that it's going to be a stretch getting through this movie, because it's like I can't think of much more to say about it other than the fact I don't care for the design, I don't care for Aubrey Plaza, I don't really care for the kids. Although some of these actors are obviously good, and when you see them in other films, they can do good with better characters. But these characters are just flatly written. None of them are memorable. It's very hard to get behind a movie where you're not even rooting for the protagonists. It's just very, very hard to get behind this in every way, shape, or form from my point of view. But yet at the same time, I don't hate it. There's not enough here for me to complain about where I would say, it's not like I find this film unwatchable. It's not unwatchable. It's just, I don't think it's absolutely sure of what it wants to be, and I don't think it quite achieves what it sets out to do. I admire the approach. I admire the direction. Here again, different being different. I mean, it's like Mr. Plinkett's comparison of moviegoers to going to fast food restaurants because they always want the same shit they got last time. Here again, this Child's Play remake, for all its weaknesses, for all my personal issues with it, it does have a different aesthetic. It does have a different goal. And it does have a different tone. The thing is, I can't appreciate everything about this movie. I just can't. There's too much about it that I find mediocre. None of the kills. See, that's another thing too. For a slasher movie about a killer doll, or rather a killer robot, if you prefer, that's in a doll's body, very vaguely aware of its cinematic counterpart, its 80s cousin, and here again, MGM has been kind of, in the business of remaking a lot of films from this period, which of course has given them some criticism, and I think justly so. Like what, they just make their money out of their casinos, and now they treat their movies like recyclable father to, they basically said, you know what, we're just going to cash in on the whole idea that we own the title of Child's Play. We're just going to fucking cash in on this shit. Now, interestingly enough, the original Child's Play, when it was released in 1988, it made $45 million on a less than $10 million budget, if I remember correctly, which is extremely impressive. This film did pretty much the same thing, but of course the major difference is you have to put in inflation into account. And in that sense, the 1988 original did a hell of a lot better. This movie kind of flopped. It kind of flopped. It made about 4 times its budget, which you could say is a success under any circumstances. But it's not like it's like it tried. It did try to grasp the stone very, very hard, and it couldn't get there. It felt like a wheeze. It felt like an empty victory of sorts. Because here again, like a lot of remakes, people tend to be cynical. Like, what is the point of this? Is there a purpose of this other than to make money? And I'm sorry to say, but Don Mancini created this franchise. He created this character, and it's it's kind of unnerving watching something in the series that doesn't have his consent. This, like the RoboCop remake, and yes, we will have a RoboCop reference later in the movie, as well as some other MGM references, which I'm not really a huge fan of. I should turn on the subtitles for this. um, but yeah, here's where here's where our child gets the buddy doll this time. I mean, like I said, it just, I don't know. It looks too fake to me. It doesn't, even when it has the red eyes and it goes into full evil Chucky mode. It just comes off almost like a I don't know, like a bad joke. It doesn't work in any way for me. And I know I'm going to try not to say that 1,000 times during this commentary, but as a hardcore Chucky fan, very little of this film works for me. Aubrey Plaza doesn't work for me. The Buddy doll doesn't work for me, both visually and also in terms of how it behaves and how it moves around, I guess you could say, and how it goes all psycho and starts killing people. Which here again, the kills in this movie are just not memorable. I mean, they're just not memorable at all. That's the other thing is, like, now let's say I could see actually teenagers enjoying this film that have never seen Child's Play or any of its sequels, which would be a little surprising, but at the same time, I don't know. I know that Chucky fans went to see this, but I think this was more of a, I don't know, more experimental in terms of, people that remember that '88 original film fondly and not so much the sequels, which doesn't make sense because Chucky fans know they exist. And this film, here again, different than any of the other horror remakes, it does go in a different direction. And yet, at the same time, it looks too familiar. At the same time, it looks just a bit too familiar. Like, they could have changed the doll even more. They could have changed the name again. Like, that's the biggest thing, that the biggest gripe I have with this movie is that they could have given him any other name besides Chucky, because it just doesn't work for me. So yeah, Aubrey Plaza plays a single mom, and of course, she's they got a cat who is going to be. That's an interesting thing, is that a cat tends to be a victim in both this and the series. That's very interesting. Now, from what I understand, Don Mancini has never seen this remake. He did not see it. He did not disparage the filmmakers. Of course, he didn't bash the project in any way, but he didn't bother watching it. And I think it's for the best that he will probably never know. I'm sure that those closest to him have probably told him, yeah, I seen it. This is what it's like. But he's never going to watch this. Trust me. We're never going to get an opinion from Don Mancini on this remake. And let's also say, because of the fact that this was a rather mild disappointment at the box office, it tried. It definitely tried. It made a little bit of money, but it ultimately was kind of a flop. And last year, the director Lars Klevberg said that he was hoping to make a sequel. However, that sequel has not happened, and I think it's not going to happen at this point, particularly with how well the series is doing, how impressively it's doing. We will probably not see a Child's Play 2. I'm willing to put money down right now that we probably will not see a sequel to this movie, and that this is going to be a one-off type of, almost like an experiment. Here again, primarily to make money. I have to be cynical about this, but at the same time, does it do something different? Yeah, sure. what it does different doesn't just doesn't appeal to me personally. Other Chucky fans, I'm sure, would be more forgiving than I am. But okay, now we have to talk about probably the most recognizable aspect of this movie, because is Mark Hamill's voice as the Buddy doll. It's okay. I'm saying that with all love and respect to Mark Hamill, because look, I grew up watching the first 3 Star Wars movies. I do not consider myself a Star Wars fan, and I do proudly own all the movies on regular Blu-ray, but I also own the just between you and me, I own the unfucked with 1977 and 1983 original cuts that George Lucas didn't fuck around with. And whenever I watch those films, I watch them exactly in that way, one right after the other. Mark Hamill, I think, was a very inspired choice for the voice of this doll. I can't help but be a little disappointed. The dialogue just isn't that memorable. It lacks that. It lacks that Brad Dourifness. You know what I'm saying? It lacks that typical Chucky vulgarity that we revel in, that we really love to take in and laugh at and everything, and really enjoy everything that Chucky has to say on screen. This Chucky has very little to say that's memorable. Very little to say that's memorable or creepy or. I mean, here again, did they even have to copy the good guy uniform? Did they have to borrow so much, even when they were doing something completely different? Did they still have to borrow so much? Because all it does is remind us of the older movies, particularly the '88 film, but not in a good way, like with Curse of Chucky, but in a, here again, an irritating way. It just, ugh. I mean, the best thing about this movie is probably Mark Hamill's voice work. Of course, Batman fans know him as the Joker in the animated series, but he's done a lot of stuff since then, and certainly a lot of stuff since Star Wars. Um, very interestingly enough, I mean, we just had Richard Donner just passed away very recently. Rest in peace. He directed a television movie in 1975 called Sarah T. Portrait of an Alcoholic. And that movie is not only directed by Richard Donner, a very early Richard Donner movie that is well done, despite its after-school special stench with regards to its title. And the film stars Linda Blair and Mark Hamill. That is a pair on screen that you have to check out. Like I said, it's called Sarah T. Portrait of a Teenage Alcoholic. It was released on Blu-ray recently. Here again, directed by Richard Donner and starring Linda Blair and Mark Hamill. Very, very worth your time. And certainly worth your time more than this. I mean, I can't help it. I can't help it. I mean, this is very much like a 2-star movie for me. Okay, cat lovers will obviously not like this bit of him choking the cat. And I guess that's a reasonably wicked way to kick this off. But I don't know. I mean, what else can he do besides harm a cat? I mean, look, I do give props to the effects artists and the technicians that made this doll come to life. I mean, sure, that's something to be celebrated, I guess, but it's all in the service of what I think is a copycat, and not a very good one, and not a very flattering copycat, I guess you could say. I mean, nothing about this Chucky works for me. The eyes don't work, the cheeks don't work, the freckles don't work. I mean, I don't know. In some weird, fucked up way, he reminds me. This is like the Alfred E. Newman version of Chucky. It's so like, okay, we're supposed to laugh at these goofy expressions, I guess. I don't find them that funny. I don't see exactly how we're supposed to latch on and like this Chucky, because he's not giving me anything so far that, he's not menacing and he's not funny. And here again, is that Mark Hamill's fault? Not necessarily. It is not necessarily Mark Hamill's fault. His voice is at best warm and familiar. At worst, it just reminds us it's Mark Hamill. And look, if you're a Mark Hamill fan, bless your heart. Bless your heart. And I mean that with all due love and respect. I love Mark Hamill just as much as anybody else. But here again, I would rather watch Mark Hamill in other stuff. This is not even, I mean, if you want to also check out a war film he did in 1980 called The Big Red One, that is another great overlooked film not many people have seen. But if you want to see him dive into what I call, well, satire and body horror pretty much at the same time, I highly recommend you all check out this Lindsay Anderson film from 1982 called Britannia Hospital, with Malcolm McDowell and a host of British actors. And Mark Hamill plays a TV reporter that basically smokes a shit ton of weed as the hospital is dealing with this crisis involving the healthcare system and the poor being screwed out of what the rich are getting in terms of medically speaking, in terms of treatment and everything. It's a whacked out role for Mark Hamill right before he did Return of the Jedi, and he filmed that in England. I have that movie on Blu-ray, and I hate to say it, but when I think of Mark Hamill, I mean, I think of him as Luke Skywalker and the guy in Britannia Hospital now. So, I mean, Mark Hamill has done a lot of stuff, of course, now. And I also liked it when he appeared in Jay and Silent Bob's Strike Back, where he appeared as Cockknocker. See, that feels like something more that Chucky would say rather than all of the dialogue in this movie, which here again, none of it delivers, I think, in how the filmmakers want it to deliver. It's just not near as funny or near as edgy or near as vulgar as anything that Brad Dourif would say. It's a shame. I mean, because here again, I can see people enjoying this film for what it is. I can see people enjoying this whether you're a Child's Play fan or not. I'm willing to contend that maybe a modern audience would get more into the spirit of this type of movie than the 88 original, just because, for whatever reasons. And look, every remake at least deserves, it will make people check out the original and ultimately, hopefully, the other sequels. Oh, now, okay. This is, of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is not one of my favorite franchises, but I do love the first two movies. And I do especially like the second movie for many, many reasons. There's Chop Top, Bill Moseley. Bill Moseley is Chop Top, ladies and gentlemen. One of the great horror characters in history. And MGM, of course, owns the rights to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, so they can get away with actually putting this clip in the movie, which, here again, I mean, was all of this absolutely necessary? Now, I understand what they're doing. They're trying to give Chucky an idea of what to do to somebody who is hurting Andy, who he wants to be a best friend with. I mean, that's the thing, is that this doll is different in that it wants to be a best friend to the kid, but that goes in the other direction of, well, if you hurt him, I'm going to hurt you. But because we don't care about the mother and the kid, it's hard to care. It just, I'm sorry. None of these actors do anything for me. And like I said, the writing is what hurts them more than anything. They just don't feel, they don't feel like natural characters to me. They don't feel like memorable natural characters that, I mean, I certainly can't really identify these kids as kids. You know, when I was a kid, I mean, you know, I wouldn't have liked something like this. I mean, you know, probably would have looked at this as like, no. But the writer is taking a different road and, you know, wants to experiment a bit in this idea of Chucky being a robot rather than a possessed doll with the spirit of a serial killer. Okay, fine. The whole idea behind Chucky is completely different. But here again, why call him Chucky? If you wanted to distinguish it between Brad Dourif's original character, why not just name him Jerry? Anything. They could have named this doll anything. You know, they didn't have to name it Buddy. You know, they didn't have to make it the same as the doll line. Look, but like I said, give us a Jerry, give us a Larry, a Tom, something. You know, anything. Xavier. You know, you could have named this. You could have named this robot anything. I'm hesitating to say doll because this is actually a robot. You know, just anything. And of course it kind of ruins the fun that this Chucky obviously can't really bleed, you know. I mean, because of the fact that it's more of a robot than an actual doll, it changes the entire dynamic and um, approach to this murderous little character. You know, it just changes everything. The dialogue, none of it is near as memorable as anything in the other 7 films. Yes, even Child's Play 3, which of course has Don't Fuck with the Chuck. I mean, Child's Play 3 and this movie are neck and neck. They are absolutely neck and neck as to me being the weakest of the franchise. They are absolutely neck and neck. And right now I'm leaning towards the remake, but man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Comparably speaking to other remakes, like, I mean, you know, I hated the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I didn't mind the Texas Chainsaw remake. I really like the Friday the 13th one, and I especially love the Evil Dead one. Oh, this is very giallo, like the use of lighting and everything in this shot. I mean, cinematography in this movie is great. The editing is fine. Like I said, it feels like a real movie. It just, yeah. Here again, we have to deal with the same shit. The same shit in a different universe, essentially. And it's like, well, it just makes me want to watch the 1988 original. To give everybody a timestamp in, we're at approximately 31 minutes in of the Child's Play remake. So we still have about another hour to go here, folks. Oh, man. You know what? Bless everybody in the chat. Bless everybody listening. I need to take a break and go to the bathroom. I promise I will be back. But even this movie, I have to take a break. I have to take a break. Please excuse me for one moment. Yeah, seriously, this film is a stretch at 91 minutes. It really is. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm sure it's going to get better in some way, shape, or form. And it never really achieves liftoff in any way. Which here again, I mean, I found it a disappointment. Not a earth-shaking disappointment. I mean, there was nothing that about this movie that made me upset. I just didn't find anything about it that I found it. It's really weird watching this after the Don Mancini film. It really, really is. I mean, here again, these actors and their characters, they do nothing for me. I mean, their conflicts, their dilemmas, they just aren't very energizing. They aren't very, em- sympathetic enough. I mean, these characters, they just, Chris Sarandon and Catherine Hicks in the original, we cared about those characters. We liked those characters. Here, I don't like any of these people. And I mean, but I don't like anything about the robot either. So I can't really root for anybody. I can't root for the robot, and I can't root for the humans. I mean, they just nobody in this film works for me. Yeah, it's nice to hear Mark Hamill. That's about the best thing I can say about this movie. It's nice to hear Mark Hamill, and I do like it when he sings the song at the end. I do like that. That is probably my favorite thing about this movie is Mark Hamill singing the buddy song. I'll be your buddy, your only buddy. I mean, it's almost, I don't care. At the end of the commentary, I'm going to just play the song outright. It's pretty good. I mean, hearing Mark Hamill sing was the joy of this movie, was the highlight of this movie for me. Everything else is just kind of meh. It's a very meh, very, very meh remake. Excuse me. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the eyes in the dark and everything, it still feels flat and misguided and ineffectual. I don't see why it doesn't intimidate or scare me at all. I know what they're trying to do here. I mean, I can see. I guess I can see this working for teenagers. I mean, I guess kids would be scared by this. But then again, I mean, of course, like the original, I mean, kids aren't really supposed to watch these movies. But even I would be hard pressed if a 13-year-old found this movie scary. I mean that. I would be hard pressed if a 13-year-old kid found this movie scary. It just felt very weak in terms of scares and horror. Unlike Curse of Chucky, which was much more in tune into. I mean, Don Mancini knew what the hell he was doing, and he delivered, especially after a 9-year absence. But this remake, it just very little about it sticks out. Very little about it is worth talking about. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's just really, really weird. And see, that's why, I mean, I would be, anybody in the chat, feel free to say your thoughts on Child's Play 2019, because now another interesting thing about this movie is that it's set around the Christmas holidays. But of course, they released it in July. In fact, they released it the same day as Toy Story 4, which I got to admit is pretty funny. But at the same time, I don't like movies that are set during the Christmas holidays and they're not released during the Christmas holidays. This movie might have even done better over the holidays had it been. Well, no, it needed another rewrite of the script, I think. But because the attempts at satire are very flimsy, in my opinion. The way, with these robots and everything, and how they use technology to a control society, or whatever you want to apply in this situation. Okay, I mean, because yeah, I wish I'd done more college research on this subject, but I must confess that for the past 48 hours, I've been riding the last night in Soho wave, and I'm not going to stop that anytime soon. So, believe me, I spent a lot more hours listening to the soundtrack of that movie than I did caring about the Child's Play remake. Like I said, it's one of the greatest motion picture experiences of my life was Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, so Chucky's gonna kill this guy. I mean, with the lights wrapped around him, and this is a pretty, I don't know, this kill, I don't know, it just feels like they could have done a lot more with this. The Christmas lights, I guess, is a nice touch, but honestly, I mean, I don't know. None of these kills are satisfactory. None of them are amusing or satisfactory. Yeah, the red eyes, that's just the most, I guess, lazy of choices they decided to make with this Chucky. It doesn't work for me at all. It's just too, I don't know. It seems like it should be simple enough to be scary enough, but it's just not. This Chucky, this Buddy doll / robot hybrid, whatever you want to call it, does nothing for me. Period. Aside from Mark Hamill's voice being, oh, now I got to admit I forgot about that shot. Okay, I mean, okay, but you saw, okay, it didn't show much, but dead in a watermelon patch. See, I mean that feels like humor that was like in the last two Halloween movies. It just this is a very odd duck of a remake. Not terrible, very very problematic, very flawed, very off, I think. It doesn't achieve what it sets out to do. But it's not quite a failure. It's just very ugh. I'll do anything for my best buddy. I mean, this doesn't stick for me. None of this, like, oh, you're my buddy. Nah. See, that's the thing, is that it's literally almost fusing Chucky in the Mancini films and the My Buddy doll from the 80s. But here again, they have to give it the same damn name. You don't have to name it Chucky again. Ugh. Yeah, none of these kids do anything for me. I'm sorry to say. And it's not like I don't watch movies with kids in them or kids protagonists. Like, I like the kids in It. I like the kids in the It movies, but I don't know. None of these kids do anything for me. They seem very bland, very average, very, whatever. No real I wouldn't hang out with these kids. I think they're pretty dull. I think they're pretty dull. Oh, is that my brain? Oh yeah, and they're gonna wrap this head up, wrap the head up, and I mean, I can here again. I can see people latching onto this whole idea of, Buddy doing everything to please its owner, or it's his best buddy, by even going as far as like bringing heads back and like. I mean, it makes you think of like somebody in Braveheart saying, "I want Wallace's hot on a plate." Was he going to bring back body parts from every person he kills back to this kid? And here again, Aubrey. I mean, if you're a fan of her, wonderful. But there's nothing about her in this film. Nothing about her performance. Nothing about her appearance. Anything. Nothing. Bring back Catherine Hicks. That's what I say. I mean, we just don't feel any empathy for either of them. And when you don't care for the characters, you don't care about what happens. And that's the thing. Even the whole idea of the doll, even the whole question mark about how the doll thinks and everything. It's hard to care. It's really hard to care. This really does feel like a clone. In maybe not the worst possible ways, but it feels like a clone in the most mediocre of ways. It's all much too unnecessary. It's all much too familiar, despite playing around in a different universe. It's almost going to be a stretch to get to this climax. I mean, which the climax does have some fireworks. I will admit that. I do admit that the climax does have fireworks and everything. Yeah, but seriously, guys, I mean, if you really think I should check out Aubrey Plaza and Parks and Recreation, let me know. Seriously, let me know. I don't want to completely dismiss her and think that she has no talent or anything. But here she just phones it the fuck in. Hey, Cliff Booth, how you doing? I finally watched Child's Play 2. It was a fun one. Yeah, it was fun. But now you got to watch all the other movies. Well, actually, you don't have to watch the remake, but you don't have to watch the remake. You really don't. See, that's the thing, is that this movie, it's not even boring. It's just, there's nothing here to distinguish it enough. And there's nothing here to admire it enough. There's just not enough of anything that it tries to do. Yes, Parks and Rec is a good show. Okay. And yes, I will watch them all. Oh yes, you definitely have to watch them all. Yeah, you might as well just get the remake out of the way too. I mean, if you like Mark Hamill, I guess it's worth it. That's damning with faint praise, but yeah, if you like Mark Hamill, it's almost worth it. It really is just almost worth it. Yeah. Well, anyway, let me give out a timestamp real quick. We are at 47 minutes and 25 seconds for anybody who wants to catch up. 47:30. 47:30, yeah. So we're just over the halfway point. Ugh. We're just over the halfway point, just over the hump of the Child's Play remake. Now, here again, this entire sequence of this guy down in the boiler room of the building, resurrecting Chucky. I mean, I just feel that this goes on way too long. There's almost nothing about this sequence or this character that I care about. And like I said, it's a real stretch. It's a real stretch to make it to. And here again, there's not really any satire involved here. It's just like, okay, we know he's going to be recharged and go on a spree again. We know. This is happening. This is almost happening way too early in this film. The funny thing is, I mean, there was a movie that came out a few years ago called The Happy Time Murders with Melissa McCarthy and directed by Brian Henson. And it was like this very vulgar Muppet movie. Not a lot of people saw it. I would rather watch that than this any day of the week. And that movie wasn't really good at all. But man, I would rather watch that again. This film is just rather lifeless, and it doesn't offer enough for Chucky fans other than just a reminder of, oh yeah, the clothes are the same. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could have done many other things with this, and I thought that this was just not enough. It wasn't enough to justify the remake's existence. Probably the worst remake I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street was a horrible remake, but probably, Conan the Barbarian was weak as fuck. As somebody who is a hardcore fan of the John Milius movie from 1982 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, that Conan the Barbarian remake was pants. Jason Momoa tried, but the movie was total pants. And what's even more disappointing, it's from the remake it's from the director of the the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Friday the 13th remakes. It's from the same guy, Marcus Nispel. That's what he does. He just does remakes of horror and sci-fi movies and fantasy. He's like Howard Deutsch. They only direct remakes or sequels. That's their game, No, I mean these actors are fine. I mean, I've seen them in other movies, and they're good and everything. They just, here again, the material and the writing is the big issue I have with this movie. The big issue. One other remake I got to give it a shout out to that came out in the past few years was, of all things, the Pete's Dragon remake from 2016. I really like that. And considering I'm a hardcore fan of the original, that's something to say right there. Has there been a horror classic that hasn't been remade yet? I think they've all been covered, actually. Maybe, they might have all been covered by now. That's amazing. It's amazing. Granted, who knows if we'll have a remake of hopefully not of Mazes and Monsters or, some other crap that needs to be left out, in the past or anything. But no, I think, hell, they even remade Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which was the 1973 television movie with Kim Darby, that very famous movie of the week. And speaking of movie of the weeks, my next 50th anniversary commentary is going to be tomorrow night, Halloween night at 10 p.m. I will be doing Mario Bava's Twitch of the Death Nerve, aka A Bay of Blood. That will be Halloween night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. But after that, I will also be doing Steven Spielberg's Duel, which is also celebrating its 50th anniversary in the next couple weeks. And I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out again. I'm still hoping to do Last Picture Show. It's still kind of on hold at the moment. I've actually been scheduling too many commentaries. But I mean, and there's other commentaries that I have planned with people that I want to take precedent over others, for, obviously availability reasons and everything. But yeah, I plan on doing commentaries later this year on Steven Spielberg's Duel, Diamonds Are Forever, the James Bond movie. A very good film called Dollars with Warren Beatty and Goldie Hawn from 1971 as well. I just found out recently that Paul Verhoeven made his film debut in 1971. He's been directing for 50 years now. It's amazing. I'm very much looking forward to his next film, which is Benedetta, about these lesbian nuns. Forgive me, Father, for I have scissored. Yeah, you know what? I gotta say, I'm about to pass out here. Yeah, and it's not even because the movie is boring. It's just because I'm so damn tired. And like I said, there's just not enough here in this movie to talk about. It's just, that's why, and I don't like, I'll be honest with you all right now. One of my pet peeves of listening to commentaries are gaps. I try to keep a steady conversation going all the way through and try not to repeat myself. Of course, at times you can't help it. But here again, with this film, there's just not a lot more to say about it. It's a very run-of-the-mill, very flaccid remake that doesn't, here again, it doesn't distinguish itself enough from the original. You'd rather be watching the original, plain and simple. At least I would. I'd rather watch the 1988 original. And here again, I will say that there is no sequel for this in the works, and there probably will not be. So this will always be a weird little side chapter in the franchise, I guess you could say. Who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, maybe if the series is done, and who knows? Maybe they'll take another shot at it, but it's not going to be anytime soon. I'll tell you that right now. As far as we know, there will be no Child's Play 2 in the future. There's only going to be one Child's Play 2, thankfully. Yeah, him grabbing the buddy clothes. Yeah, just whatever. Whatever. This is just not... Yep, first Mario Bava movie you ever saw. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you know what? I haven't seen it since high school. So, tomorrow when I see it again, it'll be for the first time in like 25 years. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. And Cliff, let me just say also that, I've recommended to everybody tonight, Last Night in Soho, the Edgar Wright film. That's a film you need to see. Even Halloween night, if you can see it before the commentary, It's going to be a film I'm going to be raving about for months. I'm not kidding. I am going to be raving about Last Night in Soho for months. Uh, it's one of the great film experiences of my life, and it's kind of a life changer in many ways. Edgar Wright went full psychological horror, and I'm still shaken and haunted by the experience. Really, I am. Really. Oh yeah, now these Buddy Two Bears. It's like, yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, this is also because there's also a RoboCop reference here. I forgot to mention that he actually has movie posters in his room for Poltergeist 3 of all things. I mean, why he has a poster of Poltergeist 3 other than the fact that MGM owns that poster. I have no idea. They couldn't have used a poster of the original even. I mean, but then again, I mean, really, you believe this kid would like Poltergeist 3? Really? I don't know. Yeah, like I said, that is no exaggeration. That is no hyperbole. Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho is a life changing experience. At least it was for me. It punched all the things that I love about cinema as an art form. It hit upon the music, the cinematography, the performances, the editing, everything. Every single aspect was amazing, brilliant, and yeah, one of the best films of the 21st century. Uh, Definitely. I'm going to be talking about it for a long, long time. I'd rather talk about it than Child's Play the remake. That's the craziest thing. I am going to be seeing Dune on Monday night. I finally decided to. I was on the fence about that, but I'm finally going to go see that on Monday night. The soundtrack to One Night in Soho, I've been listening to it on a loop for the past 48 hours. And I have not done that in 20 plus years when it comes to a movie soundtrack. Um, yeah, yeah. It's. I'm not going to say anything about the movie, period, because it's still only been out for like a day. It's 2 days. So. Yeah, I took a little break from the camera. I apologize about that, but I had to go to the bathroom and do some other stuff. So uh, I'm so tired because I'm about to literally fall down on my bed and sleep because, oh man, but I still have to get through the rest of this. Doing a timestamp real quick, we are at 1 hour and 3 minutes. 1 hour and 3 minutes into the Child's Play remake. We got 27 minutes to go. And that's the thing, is that this movie is very, very, it's like the other films. It's short. I mean, it's only 91 minutes. Like, it's the exact same length as Cult of Chucky, believe it or not. Don't be jealous now. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that I can see people make arguments about, well, this technology, we're going to have to deal with this in the future. You know what? I probably will not have to deal with anything like this. So it's here again, it's even harder to care in that aspect. I mean, none of this is bad or laughable. None of it is bad or laughable. That's about. I mean, that should be the pull quote for Child's Play 2019. It barely squeaks by in terms of being a definitely an interesting idea, but just awkwardly executed. It just doesn't, in my book, it doesn't achieve what it wants to, what it tries to achieve. I'd rather watch the 88 original any day of the week. That's not a joke. I mean, I mean, to me, it's 1,000 times better than this. This film, it can't match it in terms of kills, in terms of blood, in terms of Brad Dourif, in terms of the actors, in every way, shape, or form. This is a useless remake. I'm gonna actually look real quick. If anybody wants to buy this movie, I was gonna look up real quick what extras they had on it. I don't think it had a lot. Ugh. You could probably pick up a copy for $12. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so Child's Play does have a full-length audio commentary with Lars Klevberg, recorded in his home country of Norway. It's a generally lightweight but entertaining track and covers many of the basics. The 1988 original, adapting Child's Play for a new generation, trying to meet fan expectations, adapting the screenplay by Tyler Burton Smith, shooting in Vancouver, Bear McCreary's original score, challenges on the set, the casting process, editing, animatronics and visual effects, creative lighting, jump scares, the Amblin look, and more. There's a couple of small featurettes as well. The Making a Child's Play, Bringing Child's Play's Chucky to Life, uh, soundtrack trailer, Lee Hardcastle Claymations, and a gallery. So, and here's the thing: is that the audio commentary only has the director, and more often than not, but single director commentaries tend to be my least favorite. I mean, I definitely go for multi-person person commentaries way more than single person commentaries. And usually with directors, I mean, sometimes they can be very dry and technical, and other times uh, they can be wonderful to listen to. But if they have other people with them, you can at least have some kind of bounce back. Um, I just don't feel compelled to buy it. I mean, when I watch the Chucky movies, I think from now on, I'm only going to watch the Mancini movies. I just don't know if I can watch this remake yet again. And here again, it's not because I'm tired or it's because of, you know, a lot of this movie I just didn't care for. Are you my best buddies? None of this dialogue is memorable enough, I think. It's not like in Halloween 3 with the happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock. It just doesn't have that kind of jingle that will go on and that you want to hear it over and over and that you want to repeat it a bunch of times. I mean, see, Aubrey, I mean, her reactions to this stuff is just not convincing. They aren't convincing. They feel very emotionless. I mean, they feel like, I mean, this feels like a paycheck movie. Which, hey, make that money, girl. Go ahead, make that money. Here again, maybe if it had another pass by somebody who would have put in a lot more satiric bite into the whole thing, I think it could have been something even special. Like maybe almost like a spoof of the concept would even it might have worked. This maybe that's another thing too. This film takes itself a bit too seriously. There's a little bit of comedy, I guess. I mean, or at least a few laughs. I guess you could say at best, but it's certainly not watching a Chucky movie where you get like at least 5 or 6 of Dourif's glorious lines as Chucky. Andy. They didn't have to use the same names. They just didn't have to do that. You could have still called it Child's Play and still changed the character names. I think that would have been even better. Just why? Why? Yeah, that Buddy 2 thing, I don't think that's going to work out to a Child's Play 2. Sorry. I See, why do I think of Alfred E. Newman when I look at this face? Why? Seriously, is it just me? Like, I mean, no, we're not going to see the Buddy Bear again. Come on. No, this is. I mean, that's the thing. It almost reaches the level of a joke. It almost reaches the level of a joke. Much urgency. Oh yeah, definitely a lot of urgency in this scene. Ugh. Say hello to your new best friend. Oh God. Oh God. Yeah, I get tired of hearing the best friend stuff, I guess you could say, because it sounds like just variations of that, and it's not nearly memorable enough. Oh, oh, oh. I guess give him balls for actually squirting blood in front of a little girl, I guess. This climax in this superstore, I guess you could say, is just it really, really lacks that legitimate tension from the Chicago high rise in the original. Okay, here we have Tim Matheson again. Uh, Tim Matheson, I honestly have not seen him in very little stuff outside of Animal House. Although he did play on that television series Heart of Dixie with Rachel Bilson. If anybody ever wanted to watch that, you know, he actually played a nice doctor in that show. But otherwise, I haven't seen him in anything else. Anything. Ah, I guess yeah. And yet I can still see this working for teenagers, which is fine. Which is fine. I mean, okay. I mean, and here again, if you walked away from this movie with a lot more and got more out of it than I did, which there are definitely people out there that did, more power to you, because I'm glad that somebody can appreciate this remake. I'm really glad that somebody can appreciate this remake. But I just don't think I can do it. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think I'm going to buy it. I don't think I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray now. The glowing eyes, no, no. Oh, saw Tim Matheson the other night in the second Dirty Harry movie from '73. Yeah, the Magnum Force. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's done other stuff. I mean, actually, you know what? Hell, I'll just look it up. Might as well just look him up real quick. Real quick. I'm so tired right now. um, Yeah, he started out in the late '60s, and Magnum Force was actually one of his first films. It's the film he did before Animal House when he played Otter Stratton. He was in Spielberg's 1941. He was in Mel Brooks's To Be or Not to Be, Up the Creek. He was in Fletch, Drop Dead Fred, a Barry Brady sequel. I remember him from that. Story of Us, Van Wilder. American Pie presents The Book of Love. Ooh. And then, of course, Child's Play was his last movie. Yeah, I mean, okay, he's been in a lot of recognizable titles, but here again, it's not like he stuck to me like John Ritter did. You know what I'm saying? So we have about 13 minutes left. Now I'm you know what? He's got a bazillion credits. Yeah, he does have a bazillion credits. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the commentary now. I'm tired. And like I said, I'm not going to have much to say over the end credits. I hate to say that, but okay. In summary, this is a acceptable but very unmemorable remake. I would give the filmmakers a C minus on this. A 2-star movie. There are flashes of humor and horror, but only, you know, but only flashes. There's only flashes of it. The story is a little ridiculous. The satire, which should be prevalent, is non-existent. Oh yeah, and we're about to hear from RoboCop, dead or alive. You're coming with me. Yeah, of course, MGM owns RoboCop, and I'm wondering if we're ever going to get that RoboCop Returns movie, which is from the original writer Ed Neumeyer. I'm wondering if we'll ever get to see that. I mean, I know that Neil Blomkamp was attached at one point, but then again, he was also attached to Alien at one point. So, you know, next thing we know, Neil Blomkamp is going to be attached to the new Critters movie. Who knows? She's not your friend. You don't need other friends. Like, I mean, things really feel stretched. Things in this movie right now feel very, very stretched. There's just hardly anything about it. I mean, even Mark Hamill. I mean, I'm all Mark. I'm Team Mark Hamill. Trust me. I mean, I own the original Star Wars films in their uncut form, and he will be played in as Luke Skywalker for many years to come. But with something like this, I'd rather watch Batman animated series again, in its entirety if I want to hear Mark Hamill. His Chucky is just largely due to the dialogue, not necessarily due to his voice. Very unmemorable. And that's the kiss of death in a Chucky movie. That really, really is the kiss of death. The glowing eyes, really? I mean, is that all they had were glowing eyes and a few expressions? Oh, her name is Karen? Okay. Okay. Yeah. But at any rate, so yeah, I'm waiting for this to end. But at any rate, so let me just reiterate what I got in the future. So tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be back here and doing Mario Baba's Twitch of the Death Nerve, aka A Bay of Blood. Um, After that, we're going to be doing commentaries for Steven Spielberg's Duel from 1971. I also plan on doing a commentary on Cloak and Dagger, the 1984 film directed by Richard Franklin, which I'm very much looking forward to. And of course, next Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right back here. And I will be doing commentary for the very first 4 episodes of Chucky, which will basically be the only episodes released at that point. So, yeah, tomorrow night, Twitch of the Death Nerve. Saturday night next week, Chucky the television series. Yeah, and thank you very much for coming in, Cliff. Yeah, appreciate it. And anybody else that's still in the chat, Daniel Shine, Dying Breed, Ben Grimm, and Bib, thank you all for commenting and all for joining in on the fun. I am so ready for Child's Play 2019 to be over. I'm so ready for it to be over. Yeah, the stream went for approximately 3 hours. That's perfect. 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 Not scary in the slightest. Nothing about this movie is scary in the fucking slightest. It really, really strains for any kind of genuine emotion or terror or sheer entertainment value. Very disappointing movie. Very disappointing movie. It just felt too. Oddly enough, it felt too robotic and corporate. Too corporate and robotic. I get, yeah. But seriously, is there anything else left to say about this movie? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there is anything left to say. Here again, I don't think there's going to be a sequel. In fact, I'm willing to bet money there will be no Child's Play 2 anytime in the future. And so that makes this film's importance even less so. I mean, here again, I mean, challenge me if you think I'm wrong, but I highly, highly doubt that we will ever have a Child's Play 2 to this movie. Our investigation is concluded that Castellan and the horrific events that transpired at Zedmart. Yeah. We're recalling all Buddy 2 products for the time being. Just for now. Swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. The Buddy boxes are just, oh. Even the boxes aren't very appealing. I mean, seriously, if you were in a toy store and you saw the Buddy doll and Chucky doll, I get the Chucky doll. Sure, I may risk being killed, but I'd rather buy that than that. So that was the Child's Play 2019 remake. A massive heavy sigh. And you know what? This is Stone Gasman signing off for tonight. Thank you for joining me.